Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. This is Wednesday, August 5th. We'll begin this evening with an invocation by Dr. Michael Walton of Liberty Community Christian Church.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening all to the distinguished Board of Aldermen. Thank you for allowing me to come and grace us with invocation this evening. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and each and every day. Father, we thank you on behalf of all those who are gathered here today. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for your many abundant blessings. We thank you for life, health, and strength. Father, we thank you that you've provided us strength to fulfill our calling for substance and for friendship. Father, we thank you for friendship, fellowship, and kinship. Now, Father, we ask that you bless this board, Father. Your word tells us over in Romans that all citizens are to obey the governing authority because all authority is established by you. So we ask that you give them wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, Father, that they can govern this town of Kernersville, Father God. Lord, there's wisdom in the multitude of counsel. So, Father, we pray that everyone is respectful of each other's opinions, Lord. And when it's all said and done, you will get the praise, the honor, and the glory. It's in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Walton. That was Pastor Michael Walton from Liberty Community Christian Church. Thank you. We appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you. I'll be dropping.
Thank you. The next thing we'll do is the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You bet.
You may be seated. All right, since this is a remote meeting, we will have a roll call to make sure that all of the aldermen are present and to identify the staff that are present on this call. As you may know, because we've done several remote meetings, there's an ability for the citizens to call in if you have a comment you'd like to make about one of the public hearing items, or if you'd like to be a speaker from the floor. The phone number to call in is 336-996-7289. And you may send comments about the agenda items to khooker@toknc.com. If you have a comment on one of the public hearing items, you may send comments following the meeting up to 24 hours, and the board will consider those comments before actually voting. All right, so we'll do our roll call. This is also a good opportunity to check microphones and make sure that everybody can see and hear each other. So I'll begin with Mayor Pro Tem Jenny Fulton.
Present. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Chris Thompson.
Present, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Bruce Boyer.
Present, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Kenny Cruz.
Present, thank you.
Alderman Joe Penix.
Present, thank you.
Thank you. We have Town Manager Curtis Swisher.
Present, thank you.
Our Town Attorney John Wolf. We can see you, but we can't hear you yet, but I understand we're working on that. We've got Town Clerk Keith Hooker.
Present.
Thank you. The IT Director Adam Hutchins is here. Our Fire Rescue Chief Scott Alderman.
Present, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Our Police Chief Tim Summers.
Present.
Thank you. Parks and Rec Director Ernie Pages.
Present, thank you.
Thank you. Our Public Services Director Doran Maltbaugh.
Present, thank you.
Thank you. Our Finance Director Franz Ader.
He's present. He's with Mr. Wolf.
Okay. Our HR Director Crystal Tanner, I understand, is present.
She's present. She's in the courtroom.
Okay, Curtis, is there any other staff joining us for this meeting?
No, ma'am. I think that's all.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so again, the first items on our agenda, and the agenda is available at our website, toknc.com. If you scroll down on that first page, you'll see a link to the agendas for the meeting. Our first agenda item is a public hearing, and I'll go over the public hearing policy. When an agenda item is denoted as public hearing, persons attending shall be permitted to address the Board of Aldermen regarding the item under consideration. Those speaking in favor speaking first, those against speaking second. Proponents and opponents shall each be given 20 minutes of time to speak and may choose to allow one speaker to utilize that time or choose to allocate the time amongst different speakers. In the event that either proponents or opponents have not designated speakers to represent that view, the mayor shall divide the 20 minutes by the number of speakers wishing to address the Board of Aldermen, and each such speaker shall be given that time to express comments, ideas, concerns, expressions, and desires. After the opponents speak, the mayor will allow the proponents 5 minutes for rebuttal. If the proponents choose to exercise this option, the opponents will also have 5 minutes for rebuttal. In the event that the proponents do not present a rebuttal, then the opponents shall be given no further time to speak. And we do have the phone line where you can call in if you'd like to speak to the public hearing item. And you can go ahead and call in now if you'd like to speak, and then you'll be earlier in the queue. The number is 336-996-7289. We also have a microphone set up in the courtroom at Town Hall if you'd like to speak from there. Again, I read the number a little bit fast, so it is 336-996-7289 and is printed on the agenda on our website. And again, if you'd like to make a comment on a public hearing item, you may do so for 24 hours after the close of the public hearing by emailing your comment to khooker@toknc.com. That's Keith Hooker's email, so khooker@toknc.com, and he'll distribute your comments to the board. All right, so item 1A is a public hearing, a Kernersville Development Plan Amendment. And it is Curtis Swisher, agent for the town of Kernersville, for consideration of an amendment to the Kernersville Development Plan to amend the land use plan from business center to mixed residential for property located at 1137 Glenview Drive, being all PIN numbers 6874-47-1077, and it is zoning docket KDP 53. We'll begin with a presentation by our Director of Community Development, Jeff Hatling.
Thank you, Mayor Morgan. I'll share my screen.
Please do.
So Mayor Morgan, I will present the proposed land use plan amendment and the associated rezoning case. It's a public hearing afterwards since they're tied together, just for fluency and efficiency for understanding the two cases and how they tie together. The Kernersville Development Plan land use plan amendment tonight, as the Mayor described, is a proposal from a low density residential to mixed residential. It's on 58.76 acres. The findings, the associated rezoning is a special use district case K782. Is it proposed mixed? Yes.
Yeah. We're on
Yes.
item A, which is the Kernersville Development Plan Amendment for Glenview Drive. I think you're doing item B.
Okay, I apologize for that. Let me go to that screen.
All right, so just for clarity, let me reintroduce that item. So the wording is really similar of the two agenda items, but we'll start again with item 1A, which is a public hearing, a Kernersville Development Plan Amendment for property located at 1137 Glenview Drive, zoning docket KDP 53. And then after that, After the board has had a chance to hear that case, we'll go ahead and consider items B and C on the agenda together, which are zoning dockets KDP 54 and zoning docket K 782. So we'll begin with zoning docket KDP 53. Mr. Hatling.
Thank you, Mayor Morgan. This land use plan amendment is associated with an earlier rezoning case that the Board of Aldermen and Planning Board approved. This is located off Glenview Drive. Land use plan change recommendation is from business center to mixed residential. This is a 47.13 acre site. And the associated case, as mentioned, is K780, which passed a couple months ago. So this is just to amend the land use plan to update it. The approved special use district rezoning K780 was for 275 unit townhouse development. The current land use plan designated the area as business center. This designation was established in 2011. Town staff and several commercial and industrial brokers have marketed the site for non-residential use for the past 9 years. Further findings, due to Glenview Drive only allowing a right-in, right-out for vehicles traveling to and from Union Cross Road, and the site not being adjacent to a major thoroughfare, there has been no interest in developing the site from a commercial or industrial developers. In addition, since 2000, staff has encouraged the different developers of Caleb's Creek to purchase the property, allow for expansion of Caleb's Creek. In addition, the proposed residential is more compatible with the uses than commercial to the existing residential homes along Glenview. There's your access to right in, right out. There's the site within the business center area. And no direct access. Planning board staff recommendation, approval of the staff report attached resolution to designate the property located at 1137 Glenview Drive from business center to mixed residential.
Thank you, Mr. Hatling. This is a public hearing. I declare the public hearing open. I'd like to ask Adam Hutchins or Curtis Swisher, is there anyone who has called in to speak on this agenda item?
No, ma'am.
I'd like to ask Mr. Swisher, is there anyone in the courtroom who has signed up to speak as to this agenda item?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so this is an opportunity. I'll wait a few moments. If you'd like to speak in favor of this change in the development plan, or if you'd like to speak in opposition to this amendment to the development plan. Seeing no further callers, and my understanding is no one new has come into the courtroom, I'll declare this public hearing closed. The Board of Aldermen, as you know, needs to wait 24 hours from the close of this public hearing to be able to take a vote on it. So this matter will move to our continued meeting. Any questions? Before we do that, though, is there anyone who'd like to ask a question of our Community Development Director or any of our other staff? All right, then we will move on to items 1B and 1C. Again, it is a public hearing. If you'd like to call in to comment, or if you'd like to come to Town Hall and speak from the podium, or you may send in a written comment to khooker@toknc.com. So I'll again recognize our Community Development Director, Mr. Jeff Hatling, and he'll do a presentation on item D, public hearing, Kernersville Development Plan Amendment to amend the land use plan from low density residential to mixed residential for property located near the eastern terminus of Brookdale Forest Drive at Brookford Road, zoning docket KDP 54, and being the PIN numbers as listed in our agenda. And a public hearing rezoning, Scott Wallace, agent for owner, petitioner requests a single-phase special use district rezoning from RS20 to RM8S an RS-12S PRD special use district for property located near the eastern terminus of Brookdale Forest Drive at Brook Ford Road at the PIN numbers listed on our agenda, containing 58.76 plus or minus acres, with the requested uses residential single-family, PRD, planned residential development, residential building, townhouse, zoning docket K782. We'll do the public hearing together, but then we will vote separately on these items again at a continued meeting 24 hours or more from the close of this meeting. I'll recognize at this time our Community Development Director, Mr. Jeff Hadling.
Thank you, Mayor Morgan. I'll share my screen. Okay, back to what I was talking about earlier. Thank you for Curtis for correcting me on that presentation. So this is the case Mayor Morgan described that is associated rezoning that also being heard on this agenda item. This land use plan amendment is from low density residential to mixed residential on a 58.76 acre tract. The findings, the associated case as described by the mayor is case 782. Some of the findings, the town undertook strategic sewer investments to expand sewer infrastructure into the lower Abbas Creek and Reedy Fork areas, which this is a part of. As a result of the sewer expansion, the town was able to attract Novant's Kernersville Medical Center, the VA Health Clinic, Moses Cone Medical Offices, FedEx Ground, Amazon, and numerous other businesses. As a result of the expansion of our employment base, an increased demand for housing is taking place. The land use plan definition of mixed residential is mixed residential development has been established in areas that are transitional land use areas and are located along major thoroughfares. The mixed residential area provides a supply of undeveloped land to accommodate the growing demand for smaller owner-occupied housing units, such as cluster home, duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes, and condos. The demand for mixed residential is being driven by the demographic changes of smaller family sizes, single parents, and aging population. Rising land and development costs are also making higher density housing more attractive since they can be more affordable. Mixed residential developments offer developers the opportunity to construct several types of housing in different markets, thus enable them to complete the project in a more rapid, cost-effective method. Business Journal reported that 60% of building permits issued in 2002 were for condos or townhomes. That demand for townhouses and small lots and owner-occupied housing has only increased since 2002. Further findings, Brookford is considered a minor thoroughfare. Mixed residential areas are recommended along major thoroughfares. When staff reviewed the access site plan, the thoroughfare plan, and land use plan, we identified the major thoroughfare, Kernersville Medical Parkway, as a primary road serving the site. Brookford between the site and the medical parkway consists of I-40 and vacant land. It consists of the I-40 and vacant property that is proposed to be non-residential in the future, most likely medical. I know this is what was one of the questions from one of the residents who submitted some comments. I just wanted to respond to staff analysis on that. Further findings, the proposed mixed residential use of townhouses and single family is following current housing market trends for smaller lots and maintenance-free developments. Maintenance-free being like the townhomes where you buy the unit, the outside area is taken care of. Townhouses and single family products provide the opportunity to have a wider range of house prices during this period of high land prices and construction costs. Recommendation of the planning board and staff for the land use plan amendment, approval of the resolution presented in the planning board report. The planning board vote was 8-0. It should be noted when action is taken on this item by the Board of Aldermen, if the Board of Aldermen take action to deny the land use plan, staff would recommend denying the rezoning because the rezoning would not conform to the land use plan. So if the board does not look favorably on this land use plan amendment and takes action to deny the land use plan amendment, staff would recommend denying the rezoning because the rezoning would not conform to the land use plan. Here's the background on the rezoning case, case 782. As the mayor described, this is rezoning from RS20, which is single-family residential with a minimum lot size of 20,000 square feet, to RM8S, which is multifamily townhouses. And also the second category, RS12 PRD, which is single-family residential with a special use district. A special use district is where you have a specific uses listed and also specific site plan and conditions. Proposed uses in this special use district is residential single family, the PRD provision, and residential building townhouse. The site plan as described is on 58.76 acres. The large area to the east, shown in green, is the undeveloped area. Staff looked at this with several other developers over the years. The cost of crossing Deep River is extremely high, and so this area to the east isn't large enough or cost effective enough to cross the creek or river to develop that section. So the developer took that open space and blended it in with the townhouses and the single family would remain undeveloped. The site plan, the single family is 82 single family units, townhouses 96, total 178 units. Units per acre, single family is 2.91 and the townhouse is 3.13. That density is lower because of that large open space I described earlier. Average density 3.02. The townhomes, a specific design style, a brick facade, two bay garages, decorative trims, and hip and gable roofs. Similar to the single family, different design features, similar to the townhomes. Regarding the site plan, access is from Brookford Road with the right and left turn lanes being required by NCTOT in the town of Kernersville. There's emergency access off Brookdale Forest Drive. It would be only for emergency access. That would actually be gated. In a PRD, there's a 30-foot type 2 buffer yard along the borders of the site. So along the western area of the single family and along the southern area of the single family. Further, some additional condition for buffering would be that in the RM8 section, building 1 and building number 16 shall include a 15-foot type 2 buffer yard, which is 2 deciduous trees, 8 primary evergreen plants, and 20 supplemental evergreen shrubs per 100 feet. This would provide a buffer between the 2 existing homes on the south side of the proposed entrance road to the townhomes to the north. There's a stormwater pond to treat the stormwater located in the southeast corner as shown on the site plan in blue. Further, on traffic generation, the main access will come from the Kernersville Medical Parkway. It is estimated 75% or more of the estimated 1,477 trips per day to and from the proposed development will be traveling to and from the Kernersville Medical Parkway, with 25% or less traveling to and from the Bunker Hill Road. NCDOT 2017 traffic counts for Brookford Road was 450 trips per day, down from 580 trips per day in 2002. That decline in traffic may be due to the Kernersville Medical Parkway being completed, and a lot of residents along Brookford are now traveling north on Brookford up to the Kernersville Medical Parkway. There's some questions on schools. Community development staff works closely with the school facility staff on sharing growth data, planning for new schools. Matter of fact, today we're in communication with the consultant with the Board of Education on updating all our residential numbers so they can forecast school enrollment, looking at their future expansion of schools and new sites for purchase. Community development provided residential growth projections that supported the passage of the last school bond. Within that approved school bond are funds available for the Smith Farms Middle School to relieve congestion at Southeast Middle School, and land for a new elementary site to relieve congestion at Caleb's Creek and Union Cross Elementary School. There's 2 new conditions recommended by staff after consulting with some neighbors and a developer. 1, the emergency service connection between Black Forest Lane and Brookdale Forest Drive shall be a 20-foot wide paved emergency access meeting the fire code structure standards. One of the adjacent property owners was concerned it looked like a public street. They wanted to make sure it was only emergency access. And so the current drawing shows it as a public street. And so to be more cost effective, not only for the developer, but also for the town for maintenance, that would just be a 20-foot wide emergency access and help relieve some of the concerns of the Brookdale Forest Drive people. A second recommended condition, within the 30-foot buffer yard along the western border of the PRD, the buffer yard first 20-foot adjacent to the Brook Forest Drive area, existing healthy trees shall remain, and an additional 10-foot will be for the evergreen plantings. So basically, within that 30-foot, the first 20-foot along the current residence would remain with the mature trees, the mature healthy trees, and the last 10-foot would be for the planting areas of the evergreens for the buffer. Recommendation of the planning board was 7-1 for approval, and staff recommends approval. Regarding the approval of the following motion, move to amend the Unified Development Ordinance of the town by rezoning the property in case K782 from RS20 to RM8S and RS12 PRD. The said rezoning being consistent with the town's comprehensive plan, the Kernersville Development Plan, and further being both reasonable and in public interest because of the following facts. The petitioner requests a special use district zoning allowing building architectural standards to be applied. This assures the development addresses the development plan goal of establishing Kernersville's unique high quality community within the triad. Secondly, the petitioner requests a special use district zoning allowing a specific site plan to be considered to address the unique character of the area. Petitioner submitted designs incorporating watershed protection and will provide a sensitive landscape plan which will help improve the natural environment. Regarding site plan, approval of the site plan with the conditions as listed in the planning board report, along with the 2 additional conditions presented tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Jeff, could you show me, I couldn't see on the first time went through, where buildings 1 and 16 are, that there's additional buffer?
So along the access drive, coming off Brookford Drive, right to the north, there's 2 green lines showing where additional buffer will be planted along the townhomes. There's one home that has a driveway going back behind another house that looks directly north. And so those 2 buffers would help transition the land use between the townhomes and the single family.
So are those homes across the street then from these plantings?
Correct.
And second question, is there any likelihood, I know that crossing the deep river would be very costly. Is there any possibility that development might come from the other side? I think it's Twin Creek Drive or something that comes off Macy Grove.
Yes, if the undeveloped area was ever developed, the most likely scenario would be come from the Twin Creek side. But a developer would have to purchase numerous properties or obtain clear right-of-way back to it. And I've worked with numerous developers over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, and no one has seen or warranted the cost of such endeavors of purchasing additional property or purchasing additional right-of-way. There's quite a few homes in between that undeveloped area and Twin Creek. So as discussed before, the cost of crossing the creek or the cost of getting over Twin Creek have always been too high for that section to develop. If that section ever did develop, it would have to come back to the Board of Aldermen for rezoning for your consideration.
All right, thank you.
Any other aldermen or Mayor Pro Tem, do you have any questions of Jeff Hatling at this time?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I have a couple, Mr. Hatling. First of all, I'm just curious, where is the sign for this new development located? I didn't see it on the plan that I came by and got it. So is that going to affect the 30-foot buffer that you were, or the extra buffer you were just talking about?
No, there's a sign for the development.
Yes, sir. I didn't see it on the plan or the
Yeah.
permit.
Yeah, there's a specific condition that calls for a landscape area at the entrance where the sign would go. And so the sign would be located on the left side of the access drive. And there's condition for that also to be landscaped to create an attractive entrance.
Okay. Also, it says in here on the staff report that there is special accommodations for a special parking area, which would be designated for boats or group parking areas. I didn't see a special parking area on the plan. Is that, did I miss it? Where is that located?
I do not recall that. Is that in the staff report or you see that as on the site plan?
It's in the staff report and not on the site plan.
Yeah, yeah. Their common area would be located to the far side of the townhomes where they have a casino for their mail kiosk, but the developer may be able to respond to that more specifically. I believe they're on the line.
Okay, well, I'll keep going before we do that. Also, I saw on the site plan, the walking. Does it walk around the detention plan? Is that considered part of the public area, that walking trail?
That would be homeowners association private walking trail. All the sidewalks would be public, but the homeowner association would maintain their water quality pond and that walking area and the natural area around the pond.
So was that a yes or no that the walking trail is around the detention pond?
Yes, but it's not a public, it would be a private walking trail for the homeowners association members.
Okay, and then I just, is there a percentage of how much is going to be brick, how much is going to be vinyl, or how much is going to be vinyl shakes or stone on these single ones? I know that the townhomes are all brick, but do we have a breakdown of materials on a single resident house?
There is no specific on that. The developer maybe will answer that question.
Okay, great. And I think the last one, it said in the staff report that there would be a sensitive landscaping plan submitted. I was just curious what sensitive landscaping plan was.
Sensitive landscaping plan would be for like the mail kiosk area. So the mail kiosk area next to the townhomes consists of the kiosk and also a parking lot. And so when the engineer prepares his final grading and final townhome locations, landscaping would be installed to proper buffer that area from the adjacent townhomes, match it up with the transitional area with a single family. And so that would be we talk about the sensitive plan, it's basically sensitive to the built environment and residents around those common areas.
Okay, so you're speaking about the mail kiosk, and I'm looking at staff report, very last page. It says the developer shall construct a mailbox kiosk meeting the requirements of the USPS and the NCDOI. What's the NCDOI?
Department of Insurance for basically Department of Insurance for handicap accessibility.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then if the builder wants to explain any more, I'd love to hear. Thank you, Mayor. That's all.
We'll get the explanations from the builder as we proceed into this. Let me just go ahead and see if any of the other elected officials have a question of Mr. Hatling at this time. Alderman Chris Thompson, do you have any questions of Mr. Hatling at this time?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Joe Penix, do you have any questions of Mr. Hatling about this land
No,
use
ma'am.
plan amendment or?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Kenny Cruz, do you have any questions at this time?
No, ma'am, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Bruce Boyer, do you have further questions at this time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right, this is a public hearing. I'll declare the public hearing open. In the event any callers or any viewers just joined us at our remote meeting, there is a phone number you can call in if you'd like to speak in favor or in opposition to this development. The phone number is 336-996-7289. Again, 336-996-7289, and it is printed on our agenda. If you'd like to make comments and you don't make the comments this evening, you may email them to khooker@toknc.com. And please try to get them in within 24 hours after this public hearing ends so we can be sure to be able to read and see your comments. All right, so this is a public hearing. The public hearing is open. First, I'd like to hear from anyone who is in favor of this proposed development. I see there's a couple people on the line, but I also wanted to check with Mr. Swisher and Mr. Hooker to see if there's anyone in the courtroom who has signed up to speak in favor.
No, ma'am.
Okay, and just so I'll know, is there anyone in the courtroom who has signed up to speak in opposition?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right, our IT director is Adam Hutchins. Adam, I'm ready to hear from the people who have called in favor. And callers, if you could identify yourself and your business address for us.
Good evening, Mayor Fulton and board. This is Judy Stalder, 3735 Admiral Drive in High Point. I'm speaking on behalf of Fiscal.
I don't know what
Good
happened.
evening.
We
Good
can
evening,
hear-
Madam Mayor.
Ms. Stadler, we won't count that time against you if you'd like to start over. We're having a little bit of echoing going on with our courtroom this evening. So your voice is being played in the courtroom and you've got a little bit of an echo, but I think we may have fixed the problem. So if you could start over again, please.
Well, that was very exciting. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Fulton and board. I'm Judy Stalder, 3735 Admiral Drive. And also on the line to speak in favor is Scott Wallace of Keystone, and he'll answer your questions. Keystone is requesting a planned residential development rezoning on Brookford Road. And Keystone builds high-quality upscale communities across the triad. And your planned residential development process allows us to guarantee certain architectural standards, including roof pitch, siding materials, open space, and other amenities. Also, this community will include a mix of housing and a range of prices and sizes to support the neighborhood. Townhomes will be in the low to mid 200,000s, ranging in size from 1,500 to 2,500 square feet. Single-family homes will sell in the upper 200s to upper 300,000s, with a size range of 1,600 to 3,600 square feet. Now, in the single family, we don't have a percentage of materials, but it's done from a designer palette of materials that are meant to complement each other, to provide that complementary look in the neighborhood, but also individuality with the homes. We planned Brookford Village specifically for this property and this location. The overall density is around 3 units per acre, so it is low density. The northern boundary is Interstate 40, and I wish you could see me describe this with my hands, but just south of Interstate 40 will be the townhomes, and they'll be developed at a relatively low density of 3.13 homes per acre. Then south of the townhomes are the single-family homes located between townhomes and the existing single-family homes on RS20. And these homes will be developed at a density of 2.91 units per acre. So you have I-40, then the townhomes, and then the single-family homes. And then between the single-family homes and the existing homes will be a 30-foot wide Type 2 buffer yard. And the first 10 feet of that will be an evergreen planting and screening. And then the next 20 feet will preserve the healthy trees that are there. And there'll also be that planted buffer along the street entrance to the townhomes to screen the existing single-family homes there. Now, when we talked to neighbors, we did hear that they had traffic concerns. Our access will be to Brookford Road near I-40, and it is a minor thoroughfare designed to carry traffic from one spot to another. A traffic study was not required due to the low traffic volumes predicted based on the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual. We expect the majority of our residents to travel north towards Kernersville Medical Parkway. And according to town staff and NCDOT, the intersection of Brookford Road and Kernersville Medical Parkway currently operates at an acceptable level of service. And the number of trips per day from the future residents of Brookford Village is not expected to cause congestion. The traffic accidents that have been reported at Brookford Road and Kernersville Medical Parkway intersection are not related to traffic volume on Brookford Road. The accidents were due to deer, a sleeping driver, an error in a turn lane, and inclement weather. And one accident was that was attributed to the intersection was actually in a parking lot near the intersection. There will be an emergency access to Brookdale Forest Drive with a gate for police, fire, and ambulances, but there are no plans to use that access for anything else. And it will be designed as an emergency drive surface, not as a street. And last but not least, there will be left and right turn lanes constructed on Brookford Road to handle the traffic going in and out of the development. And that'll be according to NCDOT recommendations and specifications. For the schools, as you know, the town staff works with the school facility staff to share growth data. And you have a land use plan that they can use in their plan. But we can say from our experience that although single-family homes attract families with children, not all the houses will be completed in the same year. Not all the children will be of school age. Some will be older and some will be younger. Not all will be at the same grade level, and not all the students at this economic level will attend public school. We know from experience, too, that townhomes have minimal impact on schools. Most of the residents are empty nesters and single professionals. And of course, we welcome families. It's just not the home that they typically choose. The environmental concerns are addressed by this planned residential development process that allows us to arrange all the homes to protect the environmentally sensitive areas on the eastern portion of the property, and just as well, protection of water quality, steep slopes, and waterways are regulated by local, state, and federal standards that we're very familiar with. The neighbors we like to work with the neighbors. We typically meet with surrounding neighborhoods prior to presenting a plan at a public hearing. However, in light of the current pandemic, We felt like a good alternative was to send a letter with the details of the zoning conditions and invited the neighbors to contact us by telephone, email, or text with their questions and concerns. We received 2 emails, one concerning density and traffic, and one concerning the planted buffer surrounding the single-family homes, which, by the way, caused us to get very specific about how that buffer would be planted. We also received a call from a Brookdale Forest Drive neighbor concerned about the use of the private drive for emergency vehicles, which caused us to change that to an emergency driveway with staff help. And she also had some questions about how this might impact her small farm. And just getting intentional about how we're planting that buffer should address her concerns with that. But we've been in touch with her, and she has contact information that if we're approved to go through with this development, that she can contact us throughout construction, as can all the neighbors with our phone number. In conclusion, this request is low density at 3.02 units per acre. It provides a mix of housing for current residents and employees of new businesses coming to Kernersville. It ensures that construction will be of high quality and meet the expected aesthetics for this area and for our standards as well. It meets the standards of the ordinance. So we're asking you to vote to approve Keystone to build a quality community called Brookford Village in Kernersville. And we'll be happy to answer your questions.
Alderman Boyer, how much time is left in the public hearing for comments in favor?
Actually, 12 minutes.
Okay. All right, Alderman, or Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, would you like to ask Ms. Stadler your questions?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And it's Mayor Morgan and Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, Ms. Stadler. So thank you for that earlier. Thank you for your detailed information on this project. I appreciate you giving me the sizes as well as the price range for them. I'm still a little concerned about the breakdown of brick and vinyl stone, and I understand it's design concept. The only other question I had, Mayor, I would like to go back to Mr. Hatley when the public hearing's over. I think I have a question for him.
Of course.
But I just want to say thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Hutchins, I see that we have another caller on the line in favor. If you could introduce yourself.
Yes, good evening. Hello, this is Scott Wallace. I'm president, co-founder, and co-owner of Keystone Group. We do business Keystone Homes, and my office address is 3708 Alliance Drive in Greensboro, 27407. I'm available to help answer any questions that you may have. Judy did a really good job of explaining this great project that we're very hopeful to do in the town of Kernersville. So I'll just stop there, and I'll be available for any questions you may have.
Alderman Boyer, how much time is left in favor? About 10 minutes.
Sorry, I turned my mic off. 11 and a half minutes.
Okay. All right. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, did you have any questions of Mr. Wallace while we have his mic on?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Curtis, has anyone come into the courtroom to speak in favor?
No, ma'am.
Thank you for checking. All right, now I'd like to ask if there's anyone who'd like to speak in opposition. Adam, do we have any callers on the line who'd like to speak in opposition to either the development plan amendment or the rezoning docket K782? Curtis, I'm not hearing from Adam, but I do see a caller 4.
We do not have anyone. That's the line that's automatically connected in, but there's no one on it to speak.
Okay, great. Is there anyone in the courtroom here to speak in opposition? I know that we've gotten some emails and that sort of thing, so I want to double check.
No, ma'am, there's no one here.
Okay, then I will declare the public hearing closed.
Mayor, I still had a couple of questions of the developer.
Certainly, and then I think that Mr. Wallace and Ms. Statler are still available, and I'll recognize them depending on who you'd like to speak to. If you would like to go ahead and ask all your questions, and then they can answer them.
Okay. First question, I know they mentioned that typically the townhomes are not necessarily families, but are husband and wife or retirees. Is there any demographics typically for a development like this in terms of family size for the single family homes?
Okay. Did you have other questions?
Second question is this, I did drive out to Northborough a couple times. That's the Colfax development that they're working on, and drove through that 2 different times. And that's a larger project than what this is. Is this a typical size of projects that you all do, or is this on the larger side or smaller side? Was my second question. My third question, the townhomes in Northborough, is that the kind of design that we would see in the townhomes on this project? And then the last question I had is, how many building designs do in the single family homes do people get to choose from?
So in your question number 2,
Yes.
are you asking whether the Kernersville development is typical or whether the Northborough?
If the Kernersville one with 178 units, is that a typical size, or is that on a little bit larger than some or a little smaller? I know the Northborough is 300 homes, and I think they were going to High Point City Council for approval of additional homes.
Would you like to ask these questions of Judy or Scott, or both?
Whoever, probably, or whoever would like to answer them.
Okay, we'll start with Judy.
Thank
And I
you,
think the
Madam
microphone
Mayor.
is on. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Morgan. Sorry for that. Family sizes in single family are typical of what we see nationwide. That's, 2.5 children, but some are smaller, some are larger. Just because the houses are larger doesn't mean you get a larger family. It's just a family that has a different living style, typically. I'm going to let Scott answer the question about project size and building designs in single family, but the townhomes will be similar to the townhomes that we built at Northborough.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'll recognize Scott.
Yes, so thanks again for letting me speak. The townhomes absolutely will be the similar townhomes that we built at Northborough, and they attract, as Judy said, active adults and some young professionals. As far as the single family, there'll be a collection of a dozen homes, plus or minus, that will be available for the single family homes, all with 2-car garages, and very, very, very similar to Northborough. As you know, this is in fairly close proximity to Northborough. And as far in regards to the size of the community, generally this is, I would say, the average size, maybe on the little bit above average size for our company. We have a niche where we like to combine a nice townhome offering and a nice single family homes, because it a lot of times attracts families, of which, and then the active adults, we find it's very common that the parents will want to live nearby their adult children and their grandchildren. So it seems to be a really good chemistry for us, and We think that this community, where it's located and close to the medical facilities and the town core, that it would just be a nice addition for this area. So I hope I've answered all your questions, and I'd love to answer any more that you may have.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Scott and Judy.
Mayor,
Yes.
can I ask Mr. Wallace if he would like to share just a ballpark, I mean, not exact, of, again, the materials that are going to be on the outside of the single family home? I know Ms. Stadler said it was based on design, but if you could just give me some kind of inclination, I would greatly appreciate it.
Okay, Mr.
Thank you.
Wallace.
Yes, so once again, Scott Wallace. It's going to be a collection of different design palettes that we have, and we're using a lot of earth tones and using different colors of windows and trim materials. Generally, if you're able to visit Northborough, it's going to be very similar to what we have there. We generally do all brick and closed foundations. We generally mix brick and horizontal, vertical, and/or shake siding, as well as stone veneer, cultured stone veneer. Is in regards to really percentage, really don't have a percentage. We own our single family homes. We really try to create an environment where it has multiple different types of houses, styles versus 1 story, 2 stories, different roof types, different colored palettes, of which really provides a much more aesthetic, I guess, village style type community. So I hope that helps answer your question.
Thank you, and thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Thompson, do you have any questions of the developer or Mr. Hatling?
I don't. Thank you very much.
Alderman Penix, do you have any questions at this time?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz, do you have any questions at this time?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, do you have any additional questions of anybody?
I do have Mr. Hatling. Mr. Hatling, just a quick question. On the staff report or the presentation you gave tonight, you used the year 2002 for the data. We do not have better data than from 2002, where you said 60% were going into townhomes. And then also you used the year 2002 on the traffic report from 2017. So DOT has not updated that traffic report from that data. I'm confused.
Yes. Tonight on the presentation was a quote directly from the land use plan that was last adopted in 2002. That's why we added the additional line that 2002 trend analysis continues. So we quoted exactly from the 2002 adopted. And yes, we continue to track housing styles. Matter of fact, in the Board of Aldermen Weekly, you'll see the trends we're currently having on single family, attached and detached. Regarding traffic, the traffic counts are done by NCDOT every 2 years. The most recent is 2017. 2019 should be coming out sometime in 2020. So they're usually a year behind when they release. So the counts are done in 19, and it takes over a year to accumulate all those counts and gather them and validate them and then post them. So we're looking forward to the 2019 traffic counts that should come out sometime this year.
Okay, thank you. I think you can kind of see where the confusion was, because it might be a direct quote from 2002, but look at where we are, and I'm sure there are better numbers on trends than the 60% back in 2002. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Hatling. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Boyer, do you have further questions of anybody?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay. And as a reminder to everyone, citizens may submit comments on this public hearing for 24 hours after the public hearing. Those comments will be considered by the board prior to taking a vote. And we have many more items on the agenda tonight, but the 3 public hearings will have to be considered. The 3 agenda items that were public hearing items will need to be considered on and voted at a future meeting, just so that the citizens watching can plan their schedule. Would it work for members of the board to accept public comments until 9 a.m. this Friday and hold the follow-up meeting at 2 p.m. in a remote format, so people could tune in just like they did tonight at 2 p.m. on this Friday? Would that work for everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we'll
Yes,
plan on
ma'am.
All right, we'll plan on that, but we'll vote on that at the end of the meeting, and it could be subject to change. So if you're interested in submitting a comment, please feel free to check tomorrow with our town clerk, Keith Hooker. The phone number for town hall is 336-992-0404, rings at Keith's desk. So check with him, send your comment or question by email in case those timeframes do change by the end of the meeting, but that is currently what the board is considering doing, but we'll actually decide that at the end of the meeting. All right, so the next item on the agenda is speakers from the floor. Do we have anybody in the courtroom to speak as a speaker from the floor?
No, ma'am.
Okay, do we have anyone online who's called in to speak?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then we'll move on to consideration of renewal of lease with AT&T.
Jeff, if you'll pull this up so they can see it, please. While Jeff is pulling that up, I'll explain it. AT&T is currently on the communications tower that the town owns down behind the Public Services Building off McCoy Street. Their lease expires. It's actually got about a year left before it expires, but they want to go ahead and renew that lease now. Attorney Wolf and I have worked with them for about a year to get the agreement drafted at what we think is an acceptable lease amount. As you can see on page 2 of the lease, they have offered, beginning September 1st, 2020, they have offered to pay the town $8,612.34 per month. That comes out to $103,348 per year. It will renew in September of 2025 for an amount of $8,870.71 per month. That works out to $106,440 per year. This agreement is for 1 5-year term with 2 renewable 5-year terms after that, so it could be for a total of 15 years. We're recommending to the board extending this agreement with AT&T to run for the 5-year term, and then of course giving them the 2 renewable 5-year terms on top of that. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have. I think we've had a lease with them, I think since about 1998. Says in 2004, so this one was initially started in 2004. So we're in to 16 years now with them. So we recommend renewing it at the terms and the rates that you see in that agreement. Be glad to answer any questions.
Hey, Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, do you have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Swisher, I'm glad this is a draft because I believe our mailing address is incorrect. It says 101. So can we get that corrected on page 1 and also I believe on page 3 or 4 where it says to the licensee?
Yes, we will change that.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll make that
Thank
note.
You. Alderman Bruce Boyer, do you have any questions?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Thompson.
No, ma'am, not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Penix.
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz, do you have any questions at this time?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, this is a public session item, so we do not have to wait the 24 hours before we vote on it. So do I have a motion with the change that Mayor Pro Tem Fulton recommended?
Motion
So
to
moved.
approve.
Okay, I've got a motion by Chris Thompson. I've got a second by
Bruce Boyer.
Bruce Boyer. All right, we will need to do a roll call vote. So if you'd let me know whether you're in favor or opposed. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton.
I'm in favor with the corrected changes, so thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Boyer.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Thompson.
In favor.
Thank you, Alderman Penix.
In favor.
Thank you, Alderman Cruz.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next item is consideration. Well, it's unanimous. So we'll move on to our next item.
Madam Mayor, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
I got it working.
Fantastic. I just heard.
I thought this might be a good
Just heard
time to test that and also to thank you and also to and I've been listening to everything. It just would not work on the microphone. And to tell Mayor Pro Tem, Ms. Fulton, that the address of 101 should say something about how long Curtis and I had been working on that.
Oh, Mr. Wolf, I appreciate your hard work so much. Thank you. And you too, Curtis. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
All right, we'll
It's
do the
always
next
interesting
item.
with the cell tower folks.
We'll do the next item, item 2C, and then we'll take a recess. So the next item is consideration of a request by the Chamber of Commerce to use Town of Kernersville property for Recycle Day. Mr. Swisher?
Yes, ma'am. I won't ask Jeff to pull this one up. It is a request to use the parking lot on August the 8th, 2020, which is coming up this Saturday, from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the recycling day. They will utilize the East Mountain Street side there right beyond the farmer's market. They've done that in the past. It's always been a well-attended event, and they have worked it out so that they can meet the social distancing guidelines required by the state. And we don't think it will be any problem to do that. So we're recommending the usage of that.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Motion
So
approved.
moved.
I've got a motion by Chris Thompson, a second by Alderman Bruce Boyer, and I'll do a roll call vote. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, in favor or opposed?
In favor. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Boyer.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Thompson.
I'm in favor. I'd just like to make a comment that this is always an important event for the town. I thank the Chamber of Commerce for doing this again this year.
Absolutely. Alderman Penix?
In favor, thank you.
Alderman Cruz?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. It's unanimous. And so citizens of Kernersville, you've got, what, 2 days now? They offer paper shredding and recycling, safe recycling of a variety of items, and more information is available through the Chamber of Commerce and likely on their website as well. Curtis, could we post something on our website so people could click and find out more about it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will stand in a 10-minute recess. All right, we'll get back started. We took a 10-minute recess of the regular meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen for August, and we will resume where we left off on the agenda. We're in section 2, which is the public session. We are to item D, consideration of a resolution for an application for funding with the Governor's Highway Safety Program. Mr. Swisher?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have 2 of these on the agenda tonight. This is the first one. This is the one we're in year 11, I believe, of this grant is for the DWI task force. We received $20,429 from this grant. We're recommending approval of the
Okay, my
grant.
agenda shows that as item J. So I'm right now on item D. Is this, would you like to-
Item D is an application for funding with the Governor's Highway Safety Program. We have 2 of them on the agenda, item D and item J.
okay, how how about let's consider them together, but we'll vote one at a time. Does anyone have any questions on item D or on item J? I'll roll call so we're not talking over each other. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, do you have questions on either agenda item?
No, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer?
No questions, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson?
No, thanks.
Alderman Penix?
No.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz?
No, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so first I'll call for a vote on item D, consideration of a resolution for an application for funding with the Governor's Highway Safety Program, and specifically, which one is this, Curtis?
This is the one that we're in year 11, I believe.
I think
Or
that's
maybe
item J. I think that's item J on the agenda.
Hold on, I've got it written on the actual item. Item J is the one that we're, I think, in the 6th year of. They're both about the same amount. They're both around $20,000.
Okay, I've got the printed agenda because I've got the printed revised agenda. And if I were not remote, I'd click over to see what the supporting documents were for D.
Okay, yeah, it says on the agenda that it's year 11 for item J, so item D, I guess what it is, would be, D would be the 6th year. So they're both the same grant, one's year 6, one year 11. One's 20,000 some odd dollars and one's 19,900 and some odd dollars.
Because we have two different officers participating.
That's correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the first one we're voting on is we are in the 6th year. If you need another moment to confirm that, that's fine, because the items are listed very similarly on the agenda. I'd like the board to be sure of what they're voting on.
It is the 6th year, that's correct.
Okay, the program was working so well that we had the opportunity to participate in it under a second grant. And so the board in the past took that opportunity. And so that is why we have two different grants for basically the same function, but it covers two different officers. And it has had a remarkable impact on discouraging DWIs in the area. All right, and I asked the board if anyone had any questions. So at this point in time, do I have a motion for item D?
So moved.
Okay, I've got a motion by Alderman Boyer. I have a second by Alderman Thompson. Does it sound about right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, are you in favor or opposed?
In favor. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer?
In favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson?
In favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Penix?
In favor.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we'll go to item J, which is the interlocal agreement to accept and continue year 11 of the DWI Joint Task Force Grant from the North Carolina Governor's Highway Safety Program in conjunction with Forsyth County and the City of Winston-Salem. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Alderman Penix has made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Boyer has made the second. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote?
In favor. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Boyer.
In favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Thompson.
In favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Penix.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you, and Alderman Cruz.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. And that time you didn't echo, so this is good. All right. We are to item E, consideration of an interlocal agreement and plan for the grant of coronavirus relief funds. Mr. Swisher?
You have both of these in your packet. I can get Jeff to put them up if you would like. The Forsyth County has received some funding from the state. Part of that funding is to be shared with the municipalities. Part of it does not have to be shared with the municipalities, but they have chosen to share part of it with the municipalities. So the total amount that we will be receiving if the board accepts interlocal agreement and accepts the plan will be $277,203. The interlocal agreement stipulates that basically how we have to spend the money. There are certain parameters that they set forth that we must spend the money. You can spend it on medical expenses, public health expenses, payroll expenses, and expenses to facilitate compliance with COVID-19 related public health measures, or expenses associated with the provisions of economic support in connection with COVID-19. Several of those we can't do as a municipality, but county can do as a county. The interlocal agreement also states that we have to provide a plan to the county as to how we plan to spend that, and that it has to be spent by December 30th of 2020. The plan has to be provided to the county, who will then provide it to the state by September the 1st. That's why it's on your agenda tonight. We would not have another opportunity unless we did it at the briefing to approve these. So that's the interlocal agreement, what it states. The plan you have in front of you, also the plan as to how we plan to spend that. The easiest way for us to spend it, and the one that would be the most acceptable, is on payroll expenses for public safety, public health, healthcare, human services, and similar employees. That means that we are allowed to spend it on our payroll expenses for our police and fire rescue employees. So our plan will be to spend all $277,000 on that. We can certainly do that by December 31st of this year. And we can submit that plan as it is to the county by September 1st. So I will say that the county is also trying, I think the Reopen Forsyth Committee has adopted a resolution and that they will be sending to the state, trying to get some more funding from the state. I think that they were given through the federal government. So if they get some of that, they may share some of that as well with us and other municipalities in the county. But there's no guarantee with that. They're also trying to get some relief on having to spend it by December 31st of this year, and also trying to get some flexibility in how they spend it. But that would impact the county more than it would us, and it would also impact some of the other municipalities in the county more than it will us. We do have the police and fire personnel that we can spend it on. Some of the other municipalities in the county do not have that, so they would not be able to use that expense. So I'll let you know if we receive any more funding from that as well. Be glad to answer any questions of the interlocal agreement or of the plan.
Are there any questions? Curtis, are you okay with us voting on them together, or do we need two separate votes for the agreement and for the plan?
You can do it together as long as you just make the motion to approve the agreement and the plan. You don't have to vote on them separately. I think you can combine them into one motion.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved to combine the two.
Okay, I was looking for a motion to either approve or reject both of them.
Okay, motion to approve both.
Okay. Do I have a motion by Alderman Boyer? Do I have a second? Is John asking us to change the? I saw that John was speaking and I do not hear what he's saying. No, ma'am? Okay.
I'll second that, ma'am.
All right. Second by Alderman Kenny Cruz. Okay, we'll do a roll call for the vote. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton.
In favor. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer.
In favor. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson.
In favor.
Thank you. Alderman Penix.
In favor.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz.
In favor. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we've unanimously approved both the interlocal agreement and the coronavirus relief fund plan. All right, so that brings us to agenda item F, consideration of ordinance for budget amendment 1 for fiscal year 2020 to 2021. Mr. Swisher.
Madam Mayor, you have the memo in your packet that explains the expenditures as well as the revenue. All of these, I think, except for 2, are items that were budgeted in fiscal year 19 and 20. They have been ordered. The purchase order has been submitted for them, but they have not been received yet, so we have not paid for them. So we need to carry that money over from fiscal year 1920 into this current fiscal year to pay for those items. The only 2 items I think that were not carryovers, the one for the Information Technology Department and the amount of $10,763. That is for the fiber optic cable installation at the railroad crossing at Nelson Street and Bodenhammer Street. We had not budgeted that expense. As you all remember, though, the board did approve the town participating in that project. I think our cost share is 20%, but it did not include the fiber optic cable being moved. So that was $10,700. I do not know when the rest of that project will start, but that was the first step in that. And the only other item I think in there that is not a carryover is a replacement of the gate on the main yard down at Public Services. That gate has broken, so we do need to replace that gate, and it's in this budget amendment as well. Everything else is a carryover as far as an expense goes, and also as far as the revenues go. The total being carried over and appropriated is $358,000 for this budget amendment. Be glad to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? All right, do I have a motion?
Motion to
So
approve.
moved.
Yeah, I've got a motion by Chris, a second by Joe. So motion by Alderman Thompson, second by Alderman Penix. Is there any further discussion? Are you ready for the roll call? All right, Mayor Pro Tem Fulton.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Boyer.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Thompson.
In favor, thanks.
Thank you, Alderman Penix.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Cruz.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. It's unanimous. We will move on then to consideration, which is item G, consideration of a resolution for notice of intent to reimburse for the purchase of equipment. Mr. Swisher, do you want to consider that together with H and I?
I would not, because one is for general improvement projects, one is for equipment, and the other
Okay,
is
so
something totally different.
okay, so just item G then. All right, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Item G is intent to reimburse for the equipment that was approved in the fiscal year 2021 budget. You have a list of that equipment and the cost. The total is $251,715. It'd be a 59-month financing contract. And again, all of this was already approved in the current budget.
Okay, are there any questions? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Thompson,
Second.
second by Alderman Boyer. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, in favor or opposed?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Penix?
In favor.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are moving on then to item H, consideration of a resolution or notice of intent to reimburse for the purchase of construction improvements. Mr. Swisher.
Madam Mayor, this is very similar to the last intent to reimburse, except for this is for general improvement projects. We will have to take these to the LGC, but it's an intent to reimburse for $267,000 for 3 projects, the new Kernersville Lake Dam repair and roofs on the Moore's house and the Bellamy house. For the 2 projects, again, total of $267,000.
Okay, are there any questions? Okay, do I have a
Mayor,
motion?
I'm sorry, Mayor. I'll ask one quick question. Curtis, when is the dam going to be repaired? Do we know?
As soon as we get the money, we hope to start it probably in the next month or 2.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Mayor. Sorry.
Any other
I'll motion to,
questions?
no, I'll motion to approve.
Okay, I've got a motion by Chris. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion by Alderman Thompson, second by Alderman Cruz. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote?
In favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer.
In favor, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson.
In favor, thanks.
Thank you. Alderman Penix.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. It's unanimous. All right, so Mr. Swisher, we are to item I, which is,
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the financing contract that we have to submit to the local government commission for the purchase of capital improvements. This is for the 2 roofs and the dam. This is to give the board the authority to go out for bids on a financing contract. This is
Does
the
anyone
first
have any
step in
questions?
that. And then we will have a public hearing on next month. Or at a future board meeting, we'll have a public hearing on it.
Kenny's got to turn off his mic. Thank you, Kenny.
Be glad to answer any questions.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Thompson. Second by
Second.
Alderman Boyer. And we'll do the roll call vote. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote?
In favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer.
In favor, thank you.
Alderman Thompson.
In favor.
Thank you. Alderman Penix.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz.
In favor, thank you.
All right. It's unanimous. So we're moving from item I. We've already considered item J and approved it. So we are to item K, consideration of a resolution authorizing the acceptance of FEMA grant funds for the Fire Rescue Department.
Yes, ma'am. We were informed the morning of July 31st. That's why it was added to your agenda at the last minute, because we have to accept it, short time to accept it, that we were eligible for a grant in the amount of $28,000. FEMA covers $25,454 of that, and we would be responsible for covering $2,545, basically 10%. The grant will provide funding to send 4 firefighter personnel to a specialized training institution to become certified incident command system instructors. So that, that's always helpful to have our staff certified for that. They can then come back and also teach that to our other personnel at the Fire Rescue Department. So we're recommending the board approve this grant, and be glad to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Are there any questions?
What is the training specifically?
It's for they would be certified incident command personnel. That's what it is. It's incident command system instructor training.
Okay.
Let's Let's ask our fire rescue chief, Scott Alderman, if you could explain a little bit more about what this training would do for our department.
Yes, ma'am, Mayor. Thank you. This training teaches our personnel how to manage an incident, anything ranging from something as simple as a car fire to a more complex fire situation such as an apartment fire or commercial building fire. Currently, we do not have a standardized means to teach this training. We rely a lot on experience that's passed along to our up and coming officers in our department. And this training we feel like is going to be very beneficial in bringing some standardization to how we teach incident command training. So when our personnel roll up on the scene, they can effectively manage the incident.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions of our fire rescue chief?
I don't. It sounds like a great opportunity. I would make a motion to approve.
Motion by Alderman Thompson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alderman Boyer. We'll need to do the roll call vote since we are in a remote meeting. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote?
In favor, but after the vote, I just want to ask Chief one quick thing when we're done. Is that okay?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes. Alderman Boyer, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Penix.
In favor.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton.
Thank you, Mayor. Quick question, Chief. So I love the program, total agreement. How long is the program? And so since we really don't have this in place and we're relying on experience, what's your thought process on who are the 4 chosen that get to go through this? Are we going to go for a younger dynamic, or, I was just curious. Or is it going to be, people apply and then they get chosen? I'm just curious. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. We are currently going through this training right now. We have to go through the training first, and then from that, we have already begun asking staff who is interested in possibly becoming an instructor in this training. And we have already received some interest within the department that we feel like that we will be able to quickly fill the 4 personnel to attend the training. Hopefully we have more than 4 that are interested, and those are always tough decisions, but I feel like that there's a great interest there in this training. It's online. It starts out as online training. It's 50 hours of online training, and then it moves to simulations, incident simulations. We'll actually use computer software and actually have pictures of structures that are around town that we will use in the incident simulations.
Well, that sounds fascinating. Thank you, Chief, for that more descriptive information. That's all,
Yes,
Mayor.
ma'am.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, are we ready to move on? Curtis, are there any other items that have been added to the agenda under section 2?
No, ma'am, not under section 2.
Okay. All right, then we are to the consent agenda. The following matters are considered to be routine by the board and will be enacted by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the matter will be removed from the consent agenda and considered under the following item. A, approval of minutes for the May 19 special session. B, approval of placeholder and minute book for May 27 briefing. C, approval of minutes for the June 2nd regular meeting. D, approval of minutes for the June 2nd closed session. E, approval of minutes for the June 24th briefing meeting. F, approval of minutes for the June 30th regular meeting. My understanding is that our town clerk has caught some typos that have been corrected, and the corrections have already been posted to the website in those specific minutes. An earlier printed copy may have the typos, but the items we're voting on have been corrected for those typos, which were all very minor. Is there anyone who'd like to remove one of the items from the consent agenda, or should we leave it intact? Is there anyone in the audience, Curtis, who'd like to remove something from the consent agenda?
No, ma'am.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll motion to approve items A through F of the consent agenda.
Okay. We've got a motion by Alderman Thompson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Penix. And we'll vote by roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Boyer. I thought I heard you say in favor, but I'm not sure.
Sorry, I was muted. In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson.
In favor, thanks.
Thank you. Alderman Penix.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we have no items removed from the consent agenda, so that's agenda item 4. Now we have speakers from the floor. Is there anyone who's called in who would like to address the Board of Aldermen?
No, ma'am.
Is there anyone in the courtroom who'd like to address the Board of Aldermen?
No, ma'am.
All right. Then we are to the town manager's report. I understand you have an item about a retired police officer. Do you have any other items?
No, ma'am. Just that one.
Okay, if you go ahead and proceed.
Yeah, you have, we added this yesterday, I believe. Is that correct, Keith? Correct. We added this on Monday as consideration of a resolution declaring service weapon and badge of John Sheeler surplus and authorizing that disposal. He is retired, and this is common for us to declare the badge and service weapon surplus and allow him to receive that upon retirement.
Okay, do I have any questions? Do I have a motion?
I have a question, Mayor. I know this lag, sorry about that. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you to Officer John, and also congratulations on his retirement. When I looked at the resolution, I'm just curious, looks like we've got the badge going to Officer John Schuler, and then we have the service sidearm going to Ryan McGee. So I just need to make sure who gets a gun and who gets a badge.
They will both go to John Sheeler. Copy and paste on the resolution and didn't get the name changed.
That is correct.
Okay.
That's
We will change the name on the resolution before we give it to them.
correct.
Okay, is Officer McGee?
No, it's Officer Sheeler, John Sheeler. We will change the name from Ryan McGee to John Sheeler. Now, we can't hear you now. You're still on mute. Try it again.
Well, my AirPods died. That's what happened. I apologize for that. So no, as long as it gets corrected, thank you. I just saw that and I wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
missed that. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks.
Sometimes that happens when you get things at the last minute.
Keith, you do a great job, so thank you for that. Do you need a motion, Mayor?
Yes, please.
I'd like to make a motion declaring the property surplus for Officer John. And again, thank you for your service and congratulations.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll be glad to second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer.
In favor with thanks to Officer Sheeler.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Penix.
In favor, thank you.
Alderman Cruz.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Curtis, do you have anything further to present?
No, ma'am.
Okay. The next item is matters to be presented by the town attorney. Mr. Wolf.
I do not have any this evening, Madam Mayor. Other than I would ask the board to consider a closed session for some material that I need to speak with the board about.
Okay,
Attorney privilege.
so when we go into closed session, then we will come back out of closed session to adjourn the meeting and take up any other business that the board has. But for now, let's go ahead and go through item 8, matters to be presented by the mayor and board of aldermen. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, do you have anything to present this evening?
Mayor, I just have a couple things. First of all, I'd like to wish, thank you. I'd like to wish Kay and Joe Penix a happy 53rd anniversary today, Joe. And I want to make sure Kay gets to see that before we go into closed session. So congratulations. And
Well,
then
I'm sure, thank you, Jenny, and I'm sure Kay is just waiting with open arms to see me come home.
that's awesome. Second, well, congratulations again. Second thing, I would like to bring up that I've been approached by several business owners again about the digital signing and a signage. I know we've had a long discussion, but I would really like to see if we could go back and just have further discussion on that again in one of our future meetings, and if possible. And then the other thing is with these big rezoning cases that have come up, I talked to a couple of planning board members. Is there any way they could possibly have a briefing meeting before their meeting? Because I'm understanding they're getting their packages like late Thursday or Friday, and then the meeting's on Monday. And some of them, and I feel like they may not have enough time to really review, where we get a week. So again, just something to think about, because we've got some big decisions coming through, and I just think if we were allowed to give the planning board more time on these cases, it might be helpful for everybody involved. And with that, that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer?
Nothing new. No, thank you.
Alderman Thompson?
I would like to commend the craftsmen that are working on the cabins that we have at the corner of the historical district and the Moore's house that's coming along. Everything's really starting to come together down there. And I was talking to Dorn just this week of how well those things are coming together and how wonderful they look. It's really going to look nice when they get completed. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Penix?
No, ma'am, nothing further.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz?
I just wonder what's going to happen around the Penix household tonight. I found out that Joe is just a few months older than myself. So 53 years with one woman. I don't know what kind of ruckus is going to be around his household tonight, but I wish them both well.
Thank you, Alderman Cruz.
Don't worry about it, Alderman Cruz. Kay is over at my house.
All right, so I had a question from a citizen about playgrounds. Mr. Swisher, just wanted to check with you kind of what the status is on playgrounds and what we may see in the next couple months.
We anticipate the playgrounds still being closed. I think that's still included really in the governor's order for phase 2 or 2.5, which he extended today by 5 weeks. So I don't think we will be opening the playgrounds up anytime in the next 5 weeks for sure. Parks and Rec Director Ernie Pages is on the line. He may have another update from the National or North Carolina Parks and Recreation Association that he can update you on as well. Ernie?
Yeah, there's no update to the playground. The playground's in the executive order. It's been extended like 5 weeks, like you said. I have received a few calls, and a lot of the folks that have called have compared the playgrounds to pools. The Department of Health and Human Services have given explicit guidance on pools, so the pools can open up, but there's nothing for playgrounds, and they're to remain closed. So that's kind of the update right now with playgrounds.
Okay, thank you. Okay, again, I'd like to remind everybody that the aldermen were needing to vote on the public hearing items at a later time, because when we have a remote meeting, we do not vote at the same time at the close of the public hearing on public hearing items. So the consensus of the board would be to have a meeting Friday at 2 p.m. and to accept public comments to K Hooker, just not K like K Penix, but K Hooker. So first initial K, HOOKER at toknc.com, our town clerk. If you'd like to make a comment that is included in the public hearing for items 1A, B, or C, send them by email to khooker at toknc.com by this Friday at 9 a.m. And we will plan on holding the meeting at 2 p.m. That could change because the board can't vote on that until the very end of this meeting. So if you are very interested in following and watching this, please contact Keith Hooker tomorrow and monitor your emails for the updates to the Civic Web meeting announcements if you subscribe to that service. If you haven't subscribed to that service, it's a great way to get reminders about when the Board of Aldermen will be meeting, because like the meeting today, we had planned to have participation by our community in the national observance of National Night Out, which falls on the first Tuesday in August. But with the current health situation of the COVID-19, we were not able to do that, but we'd already adopted the calendar showing meeting today on Wednesday. So we went ahead and stayed with that adopted calendar. A lot of deadlines are dependent on when our meeting is scheduled for. As Mayor Pro Tem Fulton pointed out, there's some issues with the planning board review times of things, but it's all a calendar that's been adopted and backed up. So I would like to ask Mr. Hatling if you could look into that and see what our flexibility might be to give the planning board a little more time for consideration of submitted cases before they have to make these important decisions, which are recommendations to our board, primarily, and sometimes final decisions on their part. All right, so with all that, is there anything else that we need to decide, talk about, or discuss in public session before we go into our closed session as recommended by our attorney? Okay, and I guess before we go into closed session, I would like to say kind of happy back to school to everybody. The superintendent and our school district and our Board of Education worked very hard on the plans for this upcoming school year, which locally with our public school starts August 17th. So I wish everyone a wonderful and safe return to school, whether it's remote or in person. Our teachers are working very hard, and our administration is working very hard to have a great educational experience for everybody this year, and we appreciate their efforts. Mr. Boyer, do you have a motion for us?
Yes, I have the motion for closed session. It's my understanding, Madam Mayor, that there are certain matters about which our town attorney needs to advise us and which fall within the attorney-client privilege for discussion in closed session. I therefore move, Madam Mayor, that the board go into closed session to confer with our legal counsel under the attorney-client privilege.
All right, I have a motion for a closed session. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alderman Thompson. I'll need to do a roll call vote. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson?
In favor.
Thank you. Alderman Penix?
In favor.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. It's unanimous. This board is now in closed session. Okay, welcome back everyone to the regular meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. We've just completed our closed session. I do have one matter before us. We had 3 public hearings this evening, so we need to set a time to continue this meeting too. The proposal had been this week, Friday at 2 p.m. Let's check the date of that. That would be August 7th. So for another remote meeting, do I have a motion to continue this meeting?
So
I'll
moved.
make the motion to continue to this Friday, the 7th at 2 o'clock.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Boyer. Do I have a second by Alderman Thompson?
Yes.
Okay. Also, I did not get the vote recorded as to go from the closed session to the open session. Keith, do you have that vote recorded?
I'll make that motion.
Mayor, I have it. Bruce Boyer made the motion and Chris Thompson seconded it, and it was at 9:07 p.m.
Okay, all right, so in open session. John, are you good with that?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay, all right, so.
Go with the closed section at 9:07. Madam Mayor, were you asking for us to go back into the open session?
Yes.
Yeah, the board needs to actually go back to the open session. I don't know. John, you have any advice on the actually supposed to go back?
I can't hear Keith. Curtis, you'll have to help me out.
You're muted, John.
I could not hear what was said.
We couldn't hear you the first time.
Who is speaking?
You need to say what you just said. We didn't hear you the first time. Then you can make a motion and go back into open sessions.
Curtis, you're on mute. We can hear you through a different.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Bruce, please turn your mic off.
Turn yours off, Keith. John, the board did not make a motion to go from closed session to open session. Do they need to do that?
No, I realized that they did not, but I think it's fine that they came back in. They were all in favor of doing that. So you're okay to this point.
All right, so I have a motion.
For a clarification on this motion, it will be to return or to continue the meeting at 2 p.m. Friday at the same location. Correct.
Yes. That the motion. All right. It's been difficult to hear, so let me go ahead and ask for the motion in a second again. Okay, so I need a motion to go back to recess this meeting. If there's no further business before the board this evening, I need a motion to continue this meeting to Friday at 2 p.m. with remote format, citizen comments to be accepted by email to khooker@toknc.com by 9 a.m. on Friday, August 7th. And the meeting to be continued on Friday, August 7th at 2 p.m. for the purpose of voting on public hearings 1A, 1B, and 1C. And if there's any other emergency matters that come up that the town manager or town attorney would like to inform us of at that meeting, we could consider that as well. Do I have a motion?
I'll make
I think
that
I had a
motion.
motion by Bruce. Okay, I've got a motion by Alderman Boyer. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Alderman Thompson, and I'll do a roll call vote. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer,
In favor, thank you.
Alderman Thompson.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Penix.
In favor.
Thank you, Alderman Cruz.
In favor, thank you.
Thank you.